Um, so I'm really excited to have you on here. What name do you want me to call you by?
So let's go with Stasia.
Stasia, excellent. I did a whole bunch of research on you this morning and a few weeks ago, and I am really impressed by you. I am so thrilled to have you on. I'm gonna have you tell us a little bit about first off what you're dealing with because I think what you've done since then is so huge. I kind of want people to have a vague idea of like what you're going through right now.
Okay, so I have chronic fatigue syndrome, CFS, which is the stupidest named thing ever.
They've really got to drop the fatigue on that. People have the wrong idea when they hear fatigue.
Yeah, no, I currently can barely get out of bed and make it from the bed to this chair where I'm sitting now, and that's about it. That's all I can do every day. I mean, sometimes I'll wake up with 2 spoons, another day it's just 0 spoons, and that's it.
Your questionnaire is like the most relatable thing I've read in a long time because I just did a blog post on having a temper tantrum with my disorder. And I read through yours and I was like, oh, that's a lot of solar plexus hits, when you're talking about, the different spoons. And I love the analogy. But it's just hard to explain. Like, fatigue is not I'm tired. You had that great story in there about the mother who was like, oh, I must have that too because I have 4 kids and I take a nap. Can you kind of explain, because I think that if someone hasn't had chronic fatigue, or I think it's called ME now, or if
Yeah.
they don't have someone in
Okay.
their life with this, they don't have an idea of like fatigue isn't like I have a newborn child and I'm tired, or I've been studying for finals and I'm exhausted. Can you kind of give like a roundabout, like when you're saying I'm done for the day, that's literally done.
Right, right. It can be 2 hours into the day, and I can no longer walk or function or hold my head up. I literally have to lay down. And if I'm 2 hours in the day, that means the next 10 to 12 hours, I have nothing. I have to lay down. So yeah, it being named fatigue is problematic. So when I first had the illness, so I got sick when I was 19, and I had been super ambitious, just got to college, was falling in love, everything. I was living my best life. We fell in love walking the streets of Chicago. Like that was kind of our courtship. We were also super religious, so we were super religious, and we were on a religious campus. So you could hold hands on campus, but that was all. So we would get off campus and we would just walk for hours every day. So that's what we did. We just spent hours and hours walking the streets of Chicago and falling in love. It was the most amazing time of my life. And then that summer, one day, I laid down and took a 3-hour nap, and I thought I just had the flu. But then the next day, it didn't get any better, and the next day, it didn't get any better. And I was like, what is going on? So I go to the doctors, I get a million tests, and I'm the healthiest person any test has ever seen.
I'm sorry for laughing. I've heard it before.
Yes, I know you have.
You're so
And
healthy. What's wrong with you? All of your tests are negative. Like,
I'm the healthiest, extremely sick person you ever met. Healthiest person in a wheelchair. And so anyway, so then I finally was told that I had chronic fatigue syndrome. And I was like, okay, at least I have a diagnosis. So I go around and start telling people, I have chronic fatigue syndrome. And I get, oh my gosh, I know, me too. This college is so hard. I must have that too. I have to take naps in the afternoon. I'm just like, no, you don't. No,
someone
no.
explained it. Like, if you haven't had to nap after a shower, you don't understand fatigue. Like,
If the shower isn't the single thing that you're doing that day,
the whole day.
right? The shower is the thing that I'm getting up my energy for and doing, and that's it that day.
Hmm.
So,
And I
so
don't
I
have chronic fatigue, but I mean, I have something else that I have POTS and Ehlers-Danlos that exhaust me to no end. And I get the like, if my shower wasn't right next to my bed, there's no way I would ever shower. I would, it wouldn't
Oh,
happen. Like I can like throw myself from shower towards bed and sometimes land in bed. And I think it's like
yeah.
a way that people need to
That,
understand is even brushing your teeth. Like my husband's had to bring me water, a toothbrush, and a pot so that I can brush my teeth at night because I couldn't get up to do that. Like it's we need to redefine and understand that fatigue isn't tired; it's the complete inability. I think is yeah. I'm sorry, I just totally took that over, and you're the one dealing with this. I'm sorry.
no, you get fatigue. Like you get fatigue, exhaustion. It feels like you're suddenly carrying around a 750-pound person. It's it's just beyond. So that I just got so pissed because I was getting this response from everybody. Also because people think they understand what fatigue is and they're doing it, they're living life and they have fatigue. What is wrong with you? Obviously, you're lazy.
It can be the
Because,
worst with people in the community as well, like people who also have it but have it at a different level.
or they'll know somebody who
Oh.
has it or have claimed it at one point, and like they're able to do stuff. So why the hell are you? I mean, my mother-in-law was terrible about it.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
She was from
That's
a culture too, and she just was like, she thought her son had married just the laziest, most useless, couldn't get a job.
oh my. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. It's one thing with your own family, but when you marry into it and you're already the stranger in the family, that's harsh. That's so much to deal with. And I
So
from like
I'm really pissed.
but to be 19 where everything's just starting and you had this new like amazing thing just starting with someone that's I mean that's so exciting when you like meet someone and you're just kind of sparking and you were going to
Yeah,
college and then to have like that's just so insane to me to have everything change in one day. Like
just really one day.
I'm just trying to process that and like I read through your story so I actually know how this ends but um
Mhm.
I was also just thinking about like you guys started your courtship walking and like that was your
Yeah,
touchstone and
yeah.
whenever we're like lost in something we usually go back to our touchstone. How do you guys redevelop a new touchstone in your marriage?
Um, Basically, my husband's just awesome, and I don't even know. Basically, our first year of marriage was just horrible. We were getting out on our own. He, we were terribly, terribly poor. He was just getting any job that he could. I couldn't work. I was a mess because I couldn't handle what was happening to me. We were trying to reach out to the church for help, and they weren't helping because they didn't understand what was happening either. And yeah, it was just really terrible. But and he did what he could, and he was just committed to the marriage.
That's amazing, but it just seems like everywhere you were supposed to get your compassion from, family and church, they just kind of because they didn't
Nope.
understand and I don't understand that like compassion should just be compassion, whether you understand it or not. I don't understand the idea of like I'm compassionate if I can understand it. If I can like viscerally get it, I can be compassionate. Like if someone's asking for compassion, it seems like that should be good enough.
Right. But or like church would be the one time a week that I would get out of the house.
Oh,
So when they see me, I would look okay-ish for those 2 hours, not knowing that those were the 2 hours I wrestled the entire week to do.
oh my God. I just hear that. I mean, like, you know, when someone's judging your entire existence on the ability to pull it together for an hour or two or even a day, it's always so my mom always jokes about that because my dad and I are really good at being okay. We're very good at being okay. If we have to be okay, we can fake it like no one else. And she's like, you guys are messing it up for me because people come over and see you and then they're like, yeah, they're fine. What are you talking about? Like, look sicker
Yeah,
next time.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so that was that, but we eventually got through, and then I had a baby, and then I was really out of it, and my parents had to come live with us,
Okay, I need an
and
explanation on how you did chronic fatigue and pregnancy. That's beyond
uh,
my comprehension right now.
well, the human growth hormone actually made me feel better during the
No
pregnancy.
way! Wow.
Ah, secrets. So I slept a lot, but I would feel better.
Okay.
So so they should do some research on that.
That sounds like that should be like number one Stanford research.
I
HCG would be
know.
a good thing to start looking at, maybe.
I
Because I've
know.
had friends with, I mean, I'm the exact opposite. Pregnancy was the worst nightmare I've ever experienced. My children were worth it, which says everything about them. But I've had friends with
Right.
Ehlers-Danlos who are like, my bones stayed together. I felt better. I like,
Uh,
I don't understand it, but there needs to be some look into that on how that works with chronic illness.
yes. But then I popped the gorgeous baby out, and then I was just flat.
Oh boy. And those first few years, till 18 are kind of labor intensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would like lay on a couch and like my baby would be there and I'd be like, like, trying to knock over some blocks. And so I was the one who could lay on the couch and watch TV with the baby. But my mom did did my mom and my husband who was like working at Starbucks so we could have the insurance to have the baby. I mean, it was just really terrible hell until I got on antidepressants, which helped. Just they didn't help my illness at all. They just helped me not be such a miserable person. And my husband come home every night to this weeping woman, just like hating it, my life. So that was better. Again, for the saint who married me. Um,
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that because I think we talk about our partners. Ow! Oh my God, so sorry. I'm gonna try to do this through this. Reminder: don't shift anything while doing interviews. Um, we talk about our partners as saints, and I do it too. But it also puts everything in a weird perspective of like they married us despite, and you also showed a lot of fortitude in what you faced with your husband, and I think that's a lot of that story too. Is your husband had a possibility of having Huntington's? Is that something we can talk about?
yeah, yeah, totally. Before we got married, while we were still in college, we'd been talking about marriage, and he sat me down one day and he was like, "Babe, there's something really serious I want to talk to you about." And it came out that his dad had had Huntington's disease, and there was a 30% chance that he would have, not 30, a 50% chance that he had Huntington's as well. And Huntington's is a really terrible, degenerative, awful disease that I've since seen what it's like. Um, but at the time, I was just like, I was 19, I was very naive, and I was like, it's fine, hon. We're meant to be together, and whatever it is, we'll take it on. This of course, this does not affect whether I want to marry you or not. And that shocked him because he'd been prepared for me to leave him over it. So then when it turned out that I was the one with the the debilitating illness, he, in his mind, was just like, you were willing to take me on, so of course I'm going to take you on. No, no question. No, nothing.
That's a
And
beautiful level of commitment.
I know.
That's gorgeous. It's a beautiful story, especially 19. I mean, that's such a gorgeous, naive, lovely, warm, fuzzy age in some ways of like, I can remake the world. It's going to be what I want it to be. And you guys stood up to a lot of obstacles and a lot of opinions. It's a very impressive story.
Well, we got married so young because of the religion stuff, basically, so we could have sex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's why I was married at 19.
I've heard of worse reasons.
Yeah, I know, and we stuck it out. I mean,
Hey, and more than holding hands, so.
yes. Although Another funny thing, my first kiss of my entire life was on my wedding day after they said, "You may kiss the bride."
Wow, I'm just trying to. I mean, I grew up Berkeley hippie liberal. That's a whole different ball of wax for me, but it seems to be wonderful for you guys. So
It randomly worked out for us, just because of the personalities involved.
it sounds like one of the big keys to you guys is a deep respect and commitment. That sounds like you guys both really respect each other and are in for whatever there is, and
Yeah.
that's a really lovely thing to hear about because so many of the people with chronic illness have partners who leave them or are just like, peace out, can't. That was not what I signed up for.
Not what I signed up for. I know. It's not what he signed up for.
I tell that to my husband all the time. I'm like, I know you did not. I know you knew generally what this was going to be like, but I know you had no idea it was going to be this bad. It's but who knows what you're going to sign up for when you're talking about decades or a lifetime or like things will
Right.
shift.
Most people will eventually run into some sort of, extreme illness. It's just supposed to be way later.
Not at 19. So you were in
Yeah.
college. Did you leave school at that point or had you graduated?
I left school for a while and then I came back and used a wheelchair, electronic wheelchair, and I did like a couple more years there and then I finished online.
Okay.
So I was able to finally get the degree.
I'm so frustrated with that because, okay, so a quick heads up to everyone who's listening. We have a very large international audience. When we're talking about these things, we are living in the United States. We pay insane amounts for health insurance. So when Stasia was talking about her husband going to Starbucks so they can have insurance, that's a thing. We don't just get health insurance. We can't even go to the hospital without paying significant amount of money even with insurance. And then when we're talking about our educations, those aren't paid for either. And there's no subsidies for most of it unless you're talking about a really great private college that subsidizes. And what I'm going to say next is that I looked into online school and I couldn't believe how expensive it was. Like for the same degree I wanted, that if I was able to physically attend class, was $6,000 for that degree. Online it was close to $50,000. So it's like this like serious tax for being sick. Like it's amazing how expensive being sick is. Like I'd love to go to college and sit in. I would love to get another degree. I would love to be able to work. I can't even roll the dice to see if it would ever be possible and get the degree while I'm sick because that would be $50,000 we'd be investing in the hope that I would get better. So, but you were able to do that with online.
Well, my college had online courses and they weren't that much more expensive than the regular courses.
That's so nice.
I was able to finish the degree through the same college that I'd started by just taking the last 4 or 5 classes that way.
Wow. That's very cool. I'm so glad you're able to do that.
Yeah.
And then, so you guys got married, had a kid. I'm so amazed that you were able to do CFS, ME, and child raising, even with help. That's an insane amount of physical effort. And
okay, yay, we did that. We're never going to do that again. Got a kid, so rock out.
And then you got the perfect one first try, so.
Oh, we got a real. He's awesome now. He's 14 and so much fun, but he was just mischievous and into everything he could be in and always like in trouble at school because he was doing mischievous stuff. So he was like, he was going to make it life as interesting as possible. Put it that way. So
yeah, I have one of those. I have the one who challenges me on everything, like every possible thing I've ever thought or believed. His entire goal in life is to make me question it.
Yeah. Any book that can possibly be found, he's going to question.
Yeah, it's with the joke in my whole family because I am so far over onto like I've done everything. I was the worst teenager ever. They're like, how is he gonna rebel? Like, what is he possibly gonna do? And then my daughter is a very different little creature, but it's amazing to see how they individually processed a sick mom who couldn't do the things other moms could do. Like,
Um,
going on like lots of vacations or going to the park and playing instead of curling up on corners of benches, being able to take them to school, going to parent teacher nights, all of the stuff that I was supposed to be able to
oh,
do.
I,
Yeah.
no, that's not going to happen.
Just even like the remembering of like the basic stuff for school for the kids was one of my biggest frustrations of like, oh my God, do you have that thing you were supposed to turn in? Do you have that? And then if I was the one who showed up on a weird day, then the teachers would like rail me to hell on like why I didn't remember to do this for my son or daughter. And like if my husband was the one who showed up, they're like, you are a manna from heaven godlike creature for even showing up for your child. Like, I'm done
Oh,
with this. You get to do all school stuff from here on out. I'm sorry to put that on your plate, but I can't take any more judgment. I can't.
oh my God, that's so infuriating.
It was one of the biggest myths. It's just like I'll tell you a quick story because it was so infuriating. Is I don't care what my kids look like as long as they are like healthy and clean. If they want to wear anything, especially as toddlers, self-express as long as it's weather appropriate. I don't care. And we had this daycare where the woman called me out in absolute fury that I had not done my daughter's hair. I'm like, I didn't even do my hair. I don't brush this mat. Like, how was I going to? It was not going to happen. And so when Stu got there, she was like, I know your wife is not good at this. So I did your daughter's hair. And you might want to let her know she needs to have her daughter's hair done in the mornings. Like, you're picking up and dropping off. I'm not dealing with her. Mm-mm.
Oh my God, I would want to know that one.
Yeah, there were words, and there was a lot of
Words.
wine that was drank that night. I'm like, you know what? You're a god if you do anything with the kids, so you get to do all of it. I'm stepping out. I don't want to be the public face anymore. I can't. I can't hold up the June Cleaver step. I'm barely getting out of bed, so no.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, I wanted to go back to your relationship because I'm curious, and I know a lot of our listeners have had discussions about how different their marriages and their relationships have gotten as they've gotten sicker. How do you guys still have a touchstone for your relationship and being sick? I mean, like, what do you guys do to keep being? I mean, like, the big question in my house is how do we not do caregiver all the time? How do we have a romance? How do we have a friendship? How do we have fun? So how do you guys do that?
Well, so I think our touchstone turned into going out to not cafes, like little diners. And when I was a little bit better, and then we would make plans for this great future we were going to have. And we would write that out on napkins and we would dream because he didn't want to work at Starbucks and I wanted to be a writer. So we did that forever when we were like barely making poverty level, all the way through when we could get babysitters for Joseph and I could like straggle to the car and then to the diner because diner seats are also more comfortable. They've got padding on the back and I could take something to put behind my head so I could kind of like just vegetate. So we did that for years, and which is funny because up to this last year we were living all the things that we written on the napkins. He had finally become a professor. He got his PhD and he was a professor, which was the ultimate. And I was a best-selling author, we kept looking at each other being, we're living the things we wrote on the napkins. That was our touchstone, was dreaming about the future together and then pushing each other to accomplish these things. So, but we've always just been able to talk for hours. So it was the talking for hours that was more the touchstone than how we were doing it. And that's what we're still able to do. Even now that I just lay here, can't do anything, he'll sit in the chair beside me and we'll just still talk for hours. Which
That is wonderful.
I don't know how we managed to do because he's super into computer science and I'm super English person. So the
Ah,
people will look at us and be like, what do you have to talk about? I don't know, but we just do.
but you have a friendship, so there's stuff to talk about.
We were friends first.
I think it's such a missed, like that's always what concerns me about when people are going just by attraction. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. It's good to have the butterflies. But if you don't have that solid friendship going, if that's not your best friend, the person who is your biggest cheerleader, who's got your back in everything, attraction isn't so pretty after the first few times of that failing. Like, it's not as cute.
Yeah, well, because of the Bible school, we couldn't really do much with the attraction parts. We really develop the friendship.
I mean, there's a lot to be said there for like making sure you have like something emotional to build off of. I have never followed that, but I can definitely see some logic behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really wonderful. You guys still have that, and I wish more restaurants would also understand that their seating needs to be comfortable. And universal design is not just pretty; it's also really great so that other people can go and enjoy being outside and out in the world. And if your chairs are just like little wooden things, it's not so comfy and able to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly. And so like yesterday we had something to celebrate and usually we would have gone out and eat, but instead we just went and like hunted and gathered the really good food from the good places and brought it back here and ate it and like celebrated here just like sitting here with each other.
I don't know where you live, but we're at least near where there's some really decent food delivery services, and that's our date nights. We sit in our house and we have takeout, or we go to Trader Joe's, or actually, let me rephrase that. He goes to Trader Joe's and gets the chicken tikka masala, which is actually really good, and the naan bread. We have like our takeout at home.
Uh-huh.
Now
Oh
you
yeah.
have just experienced another relapse, and I am the queen of hey, I'm doing great, and now I'm out for 2 months. Tell me how you're handling this because I don't do it well. I just had like a snit fit online because I was so pissed.
I am not doing well with it. I thought I was cured-ish. And then, so I was living my best life
Thank you,
again.
Oprah.
Yeah, doing everything that I ever wanted to do. I actually became a best-selling author, which was insane. I was making an income comparable to my husband, better than him. I was making more money than him, and we live in Silicon Valley.
Oh God, we almost could have done this in person if either one of us could actually leave the house.
Exactly. I know. I'd love to see you in person at some point. We
Someday
just
we
need
will have to
to
like try to see if we can get like Uber or something. Where in the Silicon Valley are you?
San Jose.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I used to work in Menlo Park, and that's a whole different culture.
Oh God, I know. Where are you?
We ran back to the East Bay. For one thing, we could not afford the property taxes in the that area.
Uh,
For another, it's just such an expensive place to live. Like everything was just so costly. And then I got really sick. Like Victorian novel woman in the attic sick. Like I couldn't leave my bedroom, and our house had stairs to get in and out. And the bathroom was like this really long hallway into a toilet, so I would have to crawl sometimes to get to. There's only one bathroom in our house. It was like this beautiful 1920s
oh yeah.
gorgeousness, but it did not
I
work for us.
all to the toilet. Nothing is more like just crushing to your soul than having to
Yes.
crawl to the
Oh my
toilet.
God. Yeah, you knew, yes. And then our hallways and our door frames were too thin for my wheelchair. So I would just be trapped for days in like this back, like super dark bedroom. And I had a nervous breakdown and I just started crying. I'm
Yeah,
like, I can't do it. I
yeah,
cannot survive like this. And my husband was like, we're dealing with this now. And he like
yeah.
he didn't even this is where we have issues with my husband and I, but he doesn't always tell me what he's thinking. He just sometimes just goes and does things. And so I thought he was mad, and he just walked out of the door, like, as I'm crying, and he had gone out to figure out financing. Like, he just, like, turned around, and he was like, we're moving now. That's what's happening. He didn't even tell me that, though. He thought he had. But he walked out to
Uh-huh.
figure out how we're going to sell the house, finance it, and how we're going to move closer to my parents so that my mom can, so we live, like, 10 minutes from my parents, because when both the kids were in school, she would have to come down and drive them to school, and she would have to pick them up, because
Yeah.
my ability to drive is like maybe ish.
Mhm.
Possible. And then she helps with a lot of the household stuff. And then, like your husband, my husband does almost all the cooking, almost all the cleaning. If I have
Yep.
like a burst of energy and I cannot dislocate for 20 minutes, I will do my best to straighten. But he does like 90% of housework and homework stuff with the kids.
But if there's like a chance to dislocate and you waste it on straightening, like that
And I
sucks.
do. Because of the guilt. Like guilt and shame. Like seriously, I am Jewish woman here. Like guilt. I was raised by a Jewish father and a Catholic mother. Guilt and shame are my jam. Like I can be guilted and shamed into anything.
I get rid of the guilt and shame like this. I've stopped being sad and weeping all the time. I figure I am an awesome, hilariously fun person to hang out with. So that's what I give to my husband. I'm awesome. I'm crazy fun to be with. So he gets to come home to crazy fun person. I'm always cracking jokes. I'm hella fun to be with.
I can second that.
So I can't clean the kitchen or do anything right now. I'm hella fun.
I think we all need to study like Dorothy Parker and like all of these like Mae West, all the grand dames of like comedy who are like, I'm not needed in the kitchen. I'm not needed to do house. No, I am fabulous.
Same for you. You are so fabulous.
This is why I study drag queens. This is why drag queens are like everything to me. They have the attitude for this. They've got it down. I'm like, I'm just gonna take notes on Bianca Del Rio.
Exactly. Embrace your fabulous. That is plenty. You're
I
giving
try.
me plenty.
So you are also running an entire business still from. Oh, and no, I'm sorry. We're gonna go to that in a minute. I want to get back to you just had a relapse. Because
I
I don't want to just gloss over that because that's. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, it's the most demoralizing thing that happens where it's like I suddenly start feeling like things are possible. I start daydreaming about things. I start sending away for like college brochures. I start like imagining if I could run a business again or live a life again. And I will do that within 12 hours of a good day. One day that lasts like 12 hours, I've already sent away for stuff.
so true.
So
So
what? How are you processing it? I'm trying to learn.
so we moved from Minnesota to Northern California, and my health just started getting better and better. And so it started with me being able to unpack the house, and I didn't have repercussions, bad repercussions. So I would push it a little further. I would start going for walks, which is insane because I was basically housebound in Minnesota. I could make it to the mailbox on an extremely good day. But suddenly impossible things were possible. And I kept building and building and building until I could exercise for an hour, like hard exercise and swim. It was insane. So I considered myself cured basically. So I just started going hard ass after everything I'd ever wanted. I published 6 books last year.
Oh my
Um,
God. I've been writing the same novel for 3 years. That's amazing.
I learned marketing like hard. I had 5 bestsellers, 2 of which were top 50 in the entire Amazon store.
That's insane. That's amazing.
Sane. And so then I started a publishing company so I could take other people and use the marketing and push them to the top. And it was a very stressful year, but it was just like the best stress I'd ever experienced. But apparently stress is bad. And
No, you don't say. What?
I just had this great hubris thinking, oh, but I'm better now. Until 6 weeks ago, when one day I was feeling a little bit run down, but I'm still running around doing, like out of the house from 11 to 8 at night and still working 10-hour days and loving it. And then I can't move the next day. It's like deja vu of the first time. And I'm like, okay. This is just a minor setback. I'll just rest for a few days and I'm sure it's okay. 6 weeks later, it's not okay. I there hasn't even been a modicum of improvement. If I get a little bit better, like you, I immediately want to start doing some of the mountain of work that needs to be done since I have dropped off. And then I'm immediately slammed all the way back down to where I'm barely making it to I look like a hunchback shuffling to get to the bathroom. So, and I don't know how to deal with it. I had coping mechanisms in the past. I don't know what to do.
I hear you. Deeply hear you.
Some days I'll think I'm okay, and I'm like, okay, meditation. Oh, I think I figured it out. Because I took a week off from trying to do anything productive, and I was getting very zen. But then I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to get on the computer for an hour and do this little bit of work, this little thing. And I tried to get on my computer, and I've been using Dragon for dictation since I can't type. My fingers are too heavy. I can't type. And Dragon wasn't working. Dragon had broke. And I got so infuriated beyond all, sphere, because it was like the one thing that was supposed to be working. So then my husband comes home and fixes Dragon, but my computer cord stops charging the computer, and the computer's going to die. And my head was going to explode. And I realized what it is. I can be totally at peace as long as I don't want something. But the second I start wanting something,
I need to underline that. I can be at peace until I want something. That's true words there.
which I realized, I was like, holy shit. I just realized what Buddha realized sitting under his damn Bodhi tree. This is like the second noble truth.
Mm-hmm.
Suffering comes from a craving.
Mm. Yeah, that one or Mark Twain is a comparison. It's the death of joy.
Yeah. How does he put it?
Comparison is the death of joy.
Comparison is the death of joy. Yeah, but the second I want anything, because at the moment I can't have anything that I want.
Yes. Is that the one thing that was supposed to work?
Yeah. If I don't want anything and I have no objectives in a day, and all I do is just lay in bed and listen to an audiobook that's generally subpar, then I can be pretty zen. But if I want the things like writing or my career or anything, then I'm immediately miserable and pissed off.
That's hard, and especially here, and especially where you live, wanting to succeed and killing it and hitting the highest levels of potential are pretty much like written in the Silicon Valley bylaws. Like,
Yeah.
it's very much a culture of striving, and I feel like there's also this like thing of living in the United States where it's all about bootstrapping. If you're just motivated enough, if you're just like go get it enough, you can overcome any obstacle. And we mythologize people who can do it, with forgetting that there's disability is a word for a reason. We are disabled. There are things we are not able to do.
I know, and that messes with my head too, because I'll listen to Oprah and she's like, everything happens for a reason, and yeah.
That one hurts.
That one hurts so bad, but I still want it to sort of be true. I'll be like, I could, this will happen for a certain reason, and I'll be able to look back at this and I'll, be able to use this as some amazing motivation and like even if that could be true, then I could use it. But I think really that's just not, I think stuff is just way more random than that.
And we all love that good founder story, right? Like the story where someone lost
Yeah.
everything and then they built it back up and they wouldn't have done this without this horrible thing happening. And that invalidates the suffering of right now. I mean, that invalidates, like, even if it becomes true, like, even if you're on Oprah's couch or wherever, like, I guess just not doing the TV show anymore, that's how old I am. But, like, even if it is true, even if you do end up feeling that way, that doesn't invalidate how much this sucks right now. Like,
Yeah.
and
And I feel
I
like that
agree. I think
totally
it's,
invalidates if you have a chronic illness.
yeah.
It's never going to get better. We're never going to have that success story of overcoming.
You know, it's
Because it's
really bad when you
always
look
in
at like somebody's in a car accident, and like at least I've done this. And my apologies to all of you who've been in car accidents who are now disabled, but I do have those moments of jealousy, of like, you know, I watch these videos of someone in their wheelchair who's like, you know, they're disabled, but they aren't disabled like me. They can still go out and like go to the gym and they lift their entire body weight with their wheelchair, and they go to the like skate park and they do all the cool tricks, which is what I want to do so bad. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do any of that. I can barely leave my house. Like, I'm so jealous. And it's so weird because, like, you see this and you're like, oh, that could be a founder story. Like, they built this really cool wheelchair. And it's like, I couldn't run a business. Like, I can barely answer, as you've seen in dealing with me and wanting to be a guest on the podcast, I can barely answer my emails. Like, there are weeks I don't even look at my email. Like, doing the podcast is hard enough.
Oh, I can't imagine actually how you managed to keep it up.
Honestly, if it wasn't for nice people who send me emails at 3 o'clock in the morning going, I am in chronic pain, I was feeling super lonely, I listened to this, it made me feel better. I can't tell you how many times I've been ready to just like press eject on this and go, I can't. I cannot
Really.
disappoint. And it's because I can't disappoint people. I hate disappointing anyone. And I just feel like
Oh,
I'm constantly disappointing people. It's I'm like, I forgot our interview. I forgot to look at my email. Yeah, and running this is a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of moving parts to running a podcast I did not know about until I said, hey, I know what I'll do since I can't leave the house. I'll run a podcast. I mean, talk about sweet little naivete, but I was in my 40s, so I don't know if I get to call it naive.
and then I was like, no, not for me. I can't.
It's I think you have to have a certain amount of naivete to do anything. Like anything, you need to be a little naive. But yeah, it is something I almost weekly go, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I now have two co-hosts who have stepped in who are doing half the work now. So, oh, thank you so much, Eva and Melvin. I love you both. Because I would have had to stop. But at least they're doing
Yeah.
half the stuff now, which I'm very, very grateful for. But it's, I mean, you run something too, and I
I
don't know
know.
how you do
I'm
it.
letting people down.
I don't know how we
So
get comfortable. How do you get comfortable with letting people down? Because I can't
I,
hold it.
I just started letting people down and it sucks really bad. I I hate it and I just want to finish up the commitments that I have as soon as possible so that I can stop it because I hate it. Because yes, I have people who I'm publishing who I try to tell that I'm sick, but you know what, they still need their material to get published and edited. And editing is
See, now you know why it's taken me 3 years to finish my novel. The novel's done. It's the editing that has taken me the last year and a half.
editing, writing is much easier right now because I can just speak it into existence. But editing requires not only being able to look at it, but it requires a higher mental ability, like the synthesizing ability, which some days I have, and some days it's just not there. I look at it and I'd be like, I can't think. I don't feel as intelligent as I feel like I know that I am. And that's a crazy feeling, frustrating feeling.
I don't get the people who can hold complicated plot lines. Like, and by complicated, I mean like Harry Potter plot lines, or like even a basic novel plot line of like different characters wanting and needing different things. I have to keep entire lists of each character on who they are to someone else, why they are, because I can't remember when I'm writing their stories. I'm like, I'm always surprised. Like, I'm always shocked at what's happening in the book because I don't even remember writing some of the chapters when I'm going back and editing them. I'm like, that's actually pretty good, but I don't know if it actually belongs in this book anymore. Like,
Well, what I do is I'm just always emailing it to my Kindle and listening back. So I have
oh,
I'm reading it out and then listening back, listening back, listening back.
oh my goodness, that's brilliant advice. I'm trying that. So you just, oh, great, thank you. I will use that.
Well, text to speech is my lifeline. That's how I that's how I proofread books too, because if it speaks it to you, you catch way more errors that way.
That's why I read it to my kid. My son is not wanting to listen to it, but my daughter's very interested, so I read it to her and my husband at night, and that's been so like I'm reading it while typing because I'm like, oh, that's not how that goes.
Uh, yeah, and sometimes when I read it aloud, I'll still skip over stuff. My eye will
Mm.
still skip over. So what kind of book are you writing? I know you've done some children's books, right?
I did picture books. I've done I think I'm at 5 of those, and then I have
Uh,
another 6 are done. They're finished. They're
oh,
written. I just need to illustrate them. Which this guy is like, illustration. That's cute. You think? Sure, you can illustrate a whole book. Why not? That's been brutal. That's been because I was a photographer in the Silicon Valley for years, and losing that was hard. I mean, like you, I built something from nothing and I made more than my husband, and I loved it. I loved what I did. I was really good at it. I was very successful at it, and I did things that I felt mattered, and I really felt proud of myself. And I got the social interaction I desperately crave. Like every day, I was meeting new people. I was meeting people from Stanford, listening to their research because I'm a science geek on the inside, and
yeah.
I was loving it. And then when I got this sick, I had to quit within like I finished my last photo shoot and then it was done. Like we couldn't. It was so sudden. It was like we're gonna finish the Christmas season, and then I was like, nope, it's September. We're done and we're moving. It was that fast. It was just
Mm,
awful and heartbreaking. And then I was like, okay, well, I can't do nothing because that's not in my DNA.
right. No,
I,
there.
yeah, and I pushed myself so hard and hurt myself so badly because I can't sit still. And I taught myself how to draw. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll do this. I'll do kids' books. I'm creative. I can write kids' books, no problem. It's super fun. And I'll draw for it. And then my wrists fell apart. So now
Mm,
it was like, okay, well, what's next? Podcast? Well, that's getting a little too hard. I don't know what's next after this if I can't do it. But yeah, I did the kids'
well,
books, and now
right.
I'm writing a YA novel. So I have like 3
Right.
YA novels that are done that need editing. 3 of them are finished. They just need to be edited.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
write middle grade novels. That's what's next.
Middle
And you
grade?
can use dictation,
I have
so
one.
you don't use your hands. You have one? You
I
should
actually have 2. There's 2 in the series that are already finished writing.
you should let me read it. I
Really?
started out writing.
I will.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of. I'm a geek for the 1890s. I love 1890s magicians. So it's like these 2 stage brother magicians who are in a war, who turn each other into hamsters because middle grade, and so they have to spend all of eternity as hamsters until they can get along. And so it's like the story of this modern day family that these hamsters have been passed down through. I'm sorry, I'm pitching a book on your. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm just really excited about it. I think it's really funny, and I was bored talking to my son, and he got me into this idea.
No, the other thing is that some sort of creativity is the thing that saved me. If I didn't have writing, I would have gone out of my mind so many times. Writing was what saved me. Being able to say I produced 1,000 to 2,000 words today made me feel like a usable human being.
They're saying about quantifying, right?
Something I could quantify. I did that. I accomplished that. I mean, that's probably what saved my marriage more than anything. Because my husband didn't have to come home to a weeping, crying person all the time.
You know,
Well,
you bring up
I had
this.
something to talk about. My books were terrible in the beginning, but I just kept doing it. I just kept doing it. And I just kept doing it until eventually they started getting better. and I would just learn. I had something to learn, you know? So I had books, just something to engage my mind in. And even now, when I can't even write, I'm too tired to write. So what I decided is I'm going to get a digital recorder, and my next series is going to be a super involved, like Game of Thrones like series. So
Oh,
that takes a hell of a lot of world building, like months worth of building this up in my mind. So I'm going to build it up and I'm going to speak it out and then get that transcribed so I can figure out who all are these alien houses, alien dragon houses. And they've been alive for a millennium. So there's going to be a lot of, betrayal and stuff built up in the backstory.
this sounds
And
so fun.
oh yeah, and they've come to Earth and they're doing some, secret genetic experiments, and like it's huge. And to usually I'm too impatient and I want to just start writing it,
Mm-hmm.
but this time I literally can't. Forcing myself to do the backstory right. So I can spend the next 3 months laying in bed and speaking into a thing and then having my Kindle read it back to me as I work through this really epic world building. So I'm trying to find any ways to find positives and find ways to feel productive, because I know that's what keeps my mood up and keeps me to be able to continue being fabulous for this fabulous man that I'm married to.
You bring something so important to this, which is that, like, I've got to stop shifting around. One of our hierarchy of needs is purpose. We need to feel like our lives and our days and our hours have purpose. And I think that one of the things that saved my sanity, if it still exists, we're still out on whether it's still there or not, but is that I've become flexible in how I define what I am. So instead of saying I'm a photographer or I'm an illustrator or I'm anything, I'm a storyteller, and that can go into any sort of thing that my body is capable of doing. But creativity is one of the best. Like, I mean, granted, I'm on opioids and marijuana, and I mean anything else I can get my hands on that might make this better. But it's also one of my biggest pain tools is distraction, and creating a new world is really distracting. It's pretty awesome. So if you're listening to this, please head over to our website, invisiblenotbroken.com, because our show notes are going to be very layered. First off, the writing for the answers for the questions I send out are beautiful. Secondly, I have a whole bunch of links in the website. So as we've been talking, I've been writing down little things on the side that I think might be really helpful as we've talked about things like world building. There's a really incredible YouTube video I'll link in with George R. R. Martin, and oh my goodness, she wrote Outlander. Oh gosh, the beautiful romance thing with Jamie and Claire and Diana.
Diana Galvin.
Thank you. And oh gosh, Patrick Ruthfuss and someone else that I'm blanking on, but they did a 1-hour panel on how to world build, and it was like
oh my God,
the best. Yeah, so it'll be in your show notes. But it was the best advice I've ever heard on how to build maps and how to build like an actual like. It is and it's hilarious. Patrick Ruthfuss is one of my favorite authors to listen to. He's so funny, and so is Diana. She's hilarious.
Oh my God,
so I'll have that in the notes. Also, I put in a video from Patrick Ruthfuss. He did a whole series on mental health. And when you're talking about, and not that we're, what I'm saying is that when you're talking about having like these periods of time where you could do things and periods of time where you can't, it falls, I think, very much under sometimes what people who have manias get to do, where they have these periods of time where they can do everything or they think they can do everything, and then there's this period of time of depression where they can't. And he was talking about a more healthy way to look at that, of like this period of activity and then a period of like resting your body and resting your mind so you're ready for the next possible thing that you can do. And it was just a really interesting way to look at it from a different perspective from mental health and chronic illness. So I'm going to link that in there too. Okay. So if you're listening, please head on over to our website and take a look. These are going to be very detailed notes. And if you have anything that you want to add in about how you've made it possible to even build up a publishing company. I'm sure there's people who are listening to this who are like, I've always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to do this, and now I'm in bed, and this sounds like a really great project. If you have anything that you'd like to add, just send it over and I'll add it into the show notes.
Okay, sure.
But I will also have your books added into show notes. So if you are interested in reading these great books.
The religious thing is from the past, and these are very erotic novels.
So not so much hand holding, right?
No.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. So if you are listening, it's going. I think I'm going to get this. I was looking at the pictures, and I was really impressed that it does not pass like a reverse Bechdel test. Like I was looking at these covers, I'm like, these are a lot of naked-ish men with abs you could grate cheese on, and lovely women who are very well dressed. This is very different than most of the media we get to see. This is interesting. That's a lot of pretty on the cover. So yes, please, if you understand you're going over there, you were going over there for erotica and romance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but very, very, lots of pretty there. So I will have a link there, so if you're curious to see a dragon book coming out, which is my jam. I'm going to be very excitedly awaiting this since we don't have Game of Thrones anymore.
I know. Oh my God, Game of Thrones, so good.
Oh, there was screaming coming from, like, Super Bowl level where your neighbors are interested in, like, football. That was our house on Game of Thrones night. Also on RuPaul Drag Race nights. We do lots of yelling at TV for these, but I can't wait for your dragon book. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure we covered?
No, I feel pretty good. This has been a really fun conversation. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh my God, there's no way. When I read through your stuff, I was like, we have way too much in common. We gotta chat. Not that you have this stuff in common with me to talk to me, but it just seems so much fun to talk to another sick writer. I was like, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry we couldn't do this in person. I think we would have probably fallen all over trying to get together, but this is our world, Skype and Zoom.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, the nicest thing you could still do for the podcast is to head over to Apple Podcasts, I think it's called. It's not called iTunes anymore. If you want to leave some stars, say some nice things, say some constructive criticism. I'm shrill. I get it. You don't need to say that again. Plenty of people have covered that one. You're all good. And please be for sure to share this. I mean, this is a super shareable episode. I think a super relatable episode. I mean, we talked about things that you can do from bed. We talked about how to keep relationships going. We talked about parenting and chronic illness. I think this is a pretty relatable episode, especially about compassion. I think this is, CFS and ME is one of the hardest disorders when it comes to compassion. Because I think a lot of people just don't understand. And again, you don't have to understand it to be compassionate. That's not a requirement. You can just go, you seem suffering, and I will give you compassion. All right, I think that's about everything I need to cover. Just tune in next week. Head over to our show notes. Definitely subscribe to our newsletter. We don't actually send out a lot. We send out one thing once a month just to kind of tell you what's gone on the shows. So if you kind of want to get like a quick update on our blog, on our podcast, on our YouTube channel, it's a great thing just to sign up for. And I don't have the energy to send you lots of emails. So one a month, that's it. All right, thanks everyone. Be kind, be gentle, be a badass.